thank you everyone for being here. Welcome to the 2021 Career Industry Day, our first ever virtual. My name is Greg Friedman. We have Luis Silvervilla with us. This is our hospitality and retail panel. Want to invite Dennis Perez from El Capitan Hotel. Oh, sorry. Let's see. My screen's covered. Luis, I'm gonna let you talk because I can't read my screen.
No worries. I hear you, especially when you're trying to do three things at once. I'm a guy, so obviously I can only do one thing. So I'm cool. I can at least focus on the screen and I'm good to go. So welcome, Dennis. Dennis is from our El Capitan Hotel locally. That's actually umbrella under Hyatt. And then we also have Marisol Garcia, but we also have Garrett. I was not sure that if Garrett was there, so do not want to miss Garrett, who's a part of the Funky Bunch right there. He's always a cool guy that's there putting up canopies that need to be rigged at hiring events. So I want to welcome all three of you to our panel.
Cool. Thank you, Louis. Appreciate it. Dennis, feel free to unmute yourself. You should have had a request. So we have questions for everybody attending. Luis is an awesome person, and he has a list of questions. We're going to kind of go back and forth and ask. If you have questions you would like to ask of these people, feel free to throw them in the chat anytime, and we'll just start asking your questions. We'd much rather have your questions than ours, and then at the end you'll have more time to ask more questions as well. So there's no bad questions, there's no stupid questions. So if there's something you'd like to know about the El Cap or Mainzer or Tioga or Starbucks, or just something in general in life, these are the experts. Now's your time to ask them. Luis, you want to start off first question? We'll go back and forth.
Yes, sir. So question number one. So tell us about your industry and some of the top skills or experiences needed with your company.
I think that it's sort of a loaded question, so I want to be careful about how I answer each one. But to be honest with you, I think that in essence, when you're looking for a job, you need to really align what it is that are your goals and the goals of the company. So I think first and foremost, researching the position or the career that you're looking into is going to be super helpful. It'll help you stand out in your interview process, and it'll just make you look really prepared and invested in what it is that you're applying for. So that's my long-winded way of saying research and preparedness. And skills and experiences, I'm a firm believer in you can make a job a career. That's all dependent upon, again, your interests. So I think that the main thing that you would need for a skill is just that go-getter attitude and the willingness to learn.
Very cool. Great. Can you go back to the first question?
Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
I was moving my views around.
I know it's very sensitive when you hit a key bar or anything like that, it switches it to the next one. So thank you, sir. No, I agree. I think research is very important. It's sometimes things that we overlook at times. We kind of look at surface level. We're not really digging deeper to find out the culture of the company, the incentives. And I know we have a question a little bit later that talks about incentives, which is a big part. And one of the things I can think about incentives is Starbucks. Starbucks has several of them. What is your answer to this? Question number one, your industry, some of those skills that you guys are looking for with Starbucks or in food services or in general, and some of the experiences you're looking for.
So big thing is basically however you are as a person, we want you to show up as your authentic self at Starbucks. We'll teach you the skills, but you have to have the drive to work hard. I would say that's the number one. Yeah, research us a little bit, learn about the company, but it's about you showing up as your very best version of yourself and also just being ready to put in the work.
And when we talk about experiences, we train. So when you think of a barista position, which is an entry-level position in our company, we cross-train on all positions. So you don't necessarily need a ton of experience. It's just having that great attitude and, again, coming as your authentic self.
Awesome. Very good. So we'll probably hear some people going in and leaving at times because it could be some high school students coming in for 15 minutes and then maybe going back to class. So anybody that is joining us, we have El Capitan, and then we also have our Starbucks. So we have our individuals from the industry, and we're going over question number one, which was skills and experiences. Greg, would you like to take number two, sir?
Absolutely. So, and both of you, feel free to jump in, whoever wants to first. So discuss some of the different positions your company offers. Someone go. There you go.
All right. So when we talk about different positions our company offers, we actually have a ton of different positions that we offer. So entry level position at Starbucks is a barista role. We also have a shift supervisor role, assistant store manager, and then it's kind of a gamut across.
Pretty much, we have positions for anything you can think of. So if you're making a career out of Starbucks, if you want to do IT, human resources, anything that you can really think of, we have positions for that. So Starbucks isn't just baristas, chefs, store managers, assistant managers. There's a whole gamut of support partners that support us in being able to do our role in store.
Very cool. So definitely lots of options. And I think that's one of the things we want our students to kind of understand. I know I learned this kind of early with looking at like even highway patrol. You know, I realized highway patrol I thought was just one thing. And then you start researching like there's many positions within a company. And that's kind of what really number two is wanting to know this industry, you know, so food services, hospitality, there's a lot of positions. It's not just having to be that one person, which I think it's the next question. Greg, if you can switch to number 3.
Okay, there we go.
So what is an example of a career ladder working for your company? So if it's somebody that really wants to kind of get into these industries or even with your individual companies, what does a career ladder kind of look like in you know, for you guys?
Was that question directed towards myself or?
It's so this is to the panel. So anytime you feel like if you have an answer, sometimes we have other people that just say ditto. It's very similar at our company. So it's just whatever you feel to answer in a sense for LCAP. Sometimes there's obviously some differences between one business and, you know, another employer.
Okay, yeah. So like you said, ditto to Starbucks. It's pretty much depending on if you're looking at Hyatt itself or LCAP. Many career opportunities, many job opportunities for both entry level and experience, whether that be through education or prior experience with other jobs. Essentially, what we have here is we have internal growth that allows you to either start at a specific position and transition to something different. For instance, if you'd like to just start as a room attendant or a bartender or a valet assistant, you can always transition into either management within your related area, or you can even move on to different positions within corporate. So for instance, myself, I work in HR, but my primary experience in education is through software engineering. So I plan on learning the company, for probably a good while. That way I can transition into a more HR software engineering type of avenue. So that's just to show you that, we're very versatile and flexible when it comes to what it is that you want as an employee. So once you get your foot in the door with us, we definitely try to make an effort to adhere to your needs. So just keep that in mind as well. You're just as important as to us as we are to you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I think it's also very important with us is like I started as a barista and Marisol did as well. We worked up within the company, and I think that when we think about career progression, it's really about creating opportunities for people to grow, and it's not necessarily always up like in a ladder. It's sometimes sideways. So we have different roles that are kind of a sidestep where you can get exposure to different things.
Definitely. So same thing. HR, we also have something we call a TLA or time limited assignment, which essentially is you get to kind of practice a role for a period of 3 to 6 months to see how that fits. And a lot of our opportunities in career progression is we actually will then land that role, or if you feel like that role isn't for you, then you can go back to your original role and then try another role out. So definitely not so much one size fits all. It's definitely where you fit.
You make great points. I love to hear that. Sometimes it's obviously the positions you're at now, that's not where you started, obviously in your careers. And I think one of the things and going back to research and looking at your companies is that it's not just in one location. Starbucks is obviously worldwide among Hyatt. I know you kind of mentioned, Dennis, with corporate, where it's something that you can start off, locally, and it's something that maybe you move up the career ladder with corporate. And now that's in another region. It's kind of exciting. You get to kind of move. I know, Marisol, you've spoke to us in the past where you had somebody locally that ended up getting, their education actually through Starbucks, or getting paid for their education through Starbucks, who ended up, working for corporate in Seattle through, and this was a local person. So cool to kind of hear that. Obviously, the position you're at is not where you started, but that there's also a lot of growth opportunities within your company.
And you're both huge companies, like you're international. So, Hyatt has many different brands. It's more than just, you think Hyatt, but I know you have different other brands. So these are companies that obviously, move up the ladder, move across the ladder, move to new locations and travel, see the world through your companies. You move up and around.
Yeah, definitely when we talk about Starbucks too. So we actually do transfers. So we actually have international transfers. So if you're somebody who is looking to travel and see what's out there, there's opportunity there for you. Especially most of you watching are just starting out and what that looks like for yourself. That's amazing. So sky's the limit when you pick the right company to work.
Good stuff. Right now we're like at 80 people, so we'll be probably having a lot of people in and out. So we apologize for some of the feedback. If you are a student and you're just joining in, just make sure that you are muted. When we have 80 different microphones going on, it definitely will pick up some audio, and we're trying to really kind of hone into the information that Dennis, Garrett, and Marisol are telling us. So we have El Capitan from Merced, and we also have Garrett and Marisol from Starbucks for some of those that are joining.
Yeah, it's hard with the different class schedules. We're all throughout Merced County, so yeah, for sure. So next question here. Get it. So what could a high school student be doing right now to help prepare themselves so they can be a standout working for your company? What are you looking for from your new employees?
So one amazing thing as a high school student preparing right now is in order to be eligible to work, you have to be in good standing. So making sure that you keep your GPA above a 2.0, so you're eligible for a work permit. But honestly, just coming as your authentic self. We do hire 16 and above, again, eligible for a work permit. And the amazing thing is a lot of the creative talent you might bring, we can be able to utilize in Starbucks.
I would also say doing sports or clubs or being part of a program. I was part of ROP, which is now transitioned to a different name of it, and I can't think what it's called. But being part of those programs where you're learning to work really will help you when you get into the workplace, because you'll have an idea of what we're asking you to do. But it doesn't necessarily hold you back if you haven't done clubs or sports or anything like that either. It's just showing up as your authentic self.
Exactly. And we've had people come in that have got to do art on our menu boards, and they're working through what does college look like. So, and again, those transfer, one of our great perks, transfer to a store close to the college, depending if you're going to go maybe out of city or out of state.
Awesome. Dennis, how about you?
That's Marisol and Garrett made some great points about Starbucks too, and I like that there's a lot of similarities between our two companies. So I won't kind of recover what they said, but I'll kind of cover maybe post high school. If you're just a recent high school graduate or you're thinking about college or not, one of the things that's most daunting is well, jobs want experience, but I don't have any yet. It's like I'm too young, or I haven't been in the job market long enough to understand that, I have this experience or that experience, so it's kind of hard. So what I'll tell you is this. We were all young at one point. For me, it was quite a while ago. But when I went to apply for jobs, I just kept in mind that, I didn't have experience, but like Marisol and Garrett said, is just be yourself. Your qualities will shine through as a person. You could be diligent, task-oriented. You can work well with others, team playing, willingness to learn. Those are all things that you really want to bring to the table as a possible employee. So keep those things in mind. Even if you can't really doctor up an experience, it's better that you really exploit your strengths and your as a person, so rather than making something up that you may or may not have. And then there's the irony of, oh, got some feedback. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just a reminder, guys, if you guys can mute yourself, anybody that's out there, if you can mute yourself. Only ones we have unmuted are our hosts and of course our businesses. So if you guys can mute yourself, just so we don't get that feedback. Thank you.
Daddy.
And so yeah, just to finish up, another thing that you guys can all prepare for is there's sort of like the irony of the interview itself, where some interviewers will ask, questions like, "Oh, how did you act as a leader in any one of your experiences?" Or "What are your 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses?" The thing that I can help you guys all out with is a small resource that's called the STAR preparation for an interview that can help you kind of framework your answers. And then again, just to help yourself stand out, research the company, what it is that you're trying to do. Do you want a job just to start making money and to gain experience? Or is this something that you're like, okay, I really want to build a career out of this right out of the gate. How can I be a better person for that? And the last thing I'll tell you is that in an interview, interviews really appreciate it when you come with questions about the company or just in general. So those are ways that you can help yourself stand out aside from experience itself.
Excellent.
Yeah, lots of great points. I really like, Garrett, that idea with the ROP, which is awesome, because and Merced County Office of Education, I know Merced Union and some others also run CTE, and but we're the original ROP program, the Regional Occupation Program. So that's the cool thing. I agree. You can go do your internships, or classroom community is what they're called, where instead of being in the classroom for a period, you're actually at a site and you're getting experience. I think that's a great way for a young student to engage and get into the work world through school and getting credit for it. So I definitely appreciate you kind of throwing that plug out there, and that you were a former, ROP student as well.
Whoever's hosting should disable the chat. We have some frivolous stuff on there from students.
Keep my mic on. I gotta turn it off.
Luis, can you do that?
I'm not sure if I have the access, but I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. If you want to go to the next one.
Okay, thank you. So what is a misconception about working in hospitality or food service? I love this one. I came from the industry, 25 years in food service. So I'd love your thoughts, especially someone who's thinking about getting into food service. Yeah. What are those misconceptions?
I think a common misconception about working in hospitality or food is kind of I would say, kind of mindset around serving others. So something that we love here at Starbucks is the opportunity to serve our communities that we get to be a good neighbor in, and being able to really see career development in the hospitality industry. A lot of people think of, the entry-level position without really looking at what's possible within that company.
Yeah, we do a lot of things for our community, whether it's cleaning up parks or planting trees or spending time in classrooms teaching students how to make lattes and latte art and that type of stuff. It's not just limited to working in a store. It's about being part of something bigger. I think that a lot of times you think about a job as just showing up and getting a paycheck, but you build connections with your coworkers and it becomes like a family. So you'll have relationships with your coworkers and you feel like you're part of something bigger.
And then as far as hospitality, I think one of the misconceptions is that kind of piggybacking again off of Starbucks, is that you may or may not be stuck at an entry-level position. So that's definitely not the case. We also offer a lot of resources for our employees, to include assisting with education or just role progression and things like that. One thing I want to let you all know as prospective employees of any company is that the culture is slowly but surely shifting towards the employee. So especially here at Hyatt, we recently launched a survey to engage the employee experience here at El Capitan. And in essence, we kind of use the feedback to shape how we are doing as a company to provide more for our employees, to ensure you guys are also promoting the work environment is collaborative and it's inclusive. And it's really just about being heard and enjoying your experience as an employee, whatever it is that you would like to do, whether it's temporary or long-term. So keep in mind that we are, trying to do more for you. And as soon as you get your foot in the door, getting through that hard first step, it's pretty much whatever it is that you want it to be, and we really work on that in the hospitality industry. So
I'd agree. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be like a host or busboy, and then it ends up becoming that lifelong career that really you get into upper management or regional or district position, and it can really make, yeah, it's a career. I met my wife through, yeah, through my job and everything.
Well, and I think that's another thing that's interesting. I've talked to a lot of different professionals, and we've all started, it seems like, in hospitality, food services. My first job, besides working with my parents, was working at Walmart. And so I had my retail experience. Greg worked for 25 plus years or so in with Marie Callender's in different roles. So it's definitely an industry that is always there. As long as people are going out and eating and getting food and staying and visiting locations, we need a place to stay at. It's definitely an industry that is growing. It's an industry that's kind of kept up to a certain degree, even through pandemic, because people, even though, we had this stay at home orders, we still had people that were ordering food, people that were still going out in certain areas, or at least frequenting businesses. I know locally, at least Merced County, stats were showing that that's one of the industries that actually kind of stayed afloat in Merced County versus maybe some other industries. So, very, very cool. I mean, it's one of these areas that there's a lot of room to grow. It's a lot of like our first time jobs to get those experiences. Students, for sure, it'd probably be one of your first type of jobs.
So we'll go on to the next question, which I believe hopefully is, there you go. So I love this one because
Two-parter. It's a two-parter.
It's a two-parter. So what type of transferable skills, oh, can you make sure everyone else is kind of on mute? Appreciate it. So what kind of transferable skills could you bring from another industry that I could use with your company? And the second part is, what transferable skills will I learn from your industry that I could use if I change careers? I want to say, I think my time in food service, I learned a ton of soft skills that you don't even realize you're learning. So those transferable skills, if you aren't unaware, are those ones that you can't necessarily get a certificate for. It's communication, it's teamwork, it's empathy, collaboration. So what I believe employers are really looking for right now. So you two can mention on that one. Who wants to tackle this one first? They're both offering it to the other person.
I would say, I mean, you hit a lot of them. Communication and people skills. That is like something you cannot put a price on. But I also think that there's problem solving skills that you learn. We learn how to create leadership skills. So it's not just one thing. There's so many things that you're going to learn coming from a career in retail.
Definitely. And I would say like empathy. I love that you had to put that in there when you were putting the list of all these different competencies that you can really get from anywhere and bring in. Being able to create space for each other. Leaning into the hard conversations. These are all amazing skills to be able to bring into a company.
Hey, where's that?
Dennis, what kind of skills are you looking for? And what can you teach us that we can take later on?
So yeah, just the main ones is that keep in mind you're always going to be working with people in most jobs. So it's great to have the communication skills. The interpersonal relationships are key in any really industry, whether it be food service or hospitality. Especially in hospitality, you're doing a lot of one-on-one interactions with our guests, and some are quick stays, like a 1-night, 2-night thing, but some are here long-term on business or school. For example, recently UC Merced had some housing issues, so we housed like many 60 rooms of worth of students. So at some point, you're kind of tending to the needs of the students and or the guests in general, and helping them not only have a comfortable stay, but ensuring that wherever they're at, they feel like they're kind of at home type of deal. So in any way that you can accommodate someone, you kind of have to kind of learn them and really have that sense of empathy to kind of like level. Sorry, I had some feedback there. So yeah, like I said, communication, empathy, those are all really good points. Some soft skills that you might learn is just, you may learn just how to work a register or how to process transactions, how to work in Excel. These are all very soft skills that are kind of like general basic level things that really can transfer to any company. These are the type of things that you'll kind of need when you're transitioning, whether it's within our company or to another one. And yeah, like that's pretty much everything that you're going to get as far as general skills. And then job specific skills will be dependent upon what your role is. So you can go on and on depending on what job it is that you get. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that. This is our first one. We're gonna lock things down a little better for the next ones.
Well, I think so we've done
Okay, I'm not
virtual ones in
cool.
the past, but sometimes our population is still learning, I guess, Zoom and etiquette and making sure that we're muted. It happens. We're just going live with it. But we appreciate your guys' patience and time for those who are definitely getting the info that we are looking for in these particular panels. So what transferable skills will I learn from your industry? So the things that I'm picking up, if for some reason, like Greg, I use Greg as an example, worked in food services for 25 years, was able to take a lot of those skills that he used in that industry and literally switched it and got into education. And he's using a lot of those skills that he learned. I worked at Walmart 3.5 years, customer service, helping others, looking at that perspective has helped me in education as well. So what are some of the skills that you learn within your company or your industry that if you needed to change would be useful and helpful in another career?
Well, some of the transferable skills that you'll learn, again, it goes back to communication, leadership. One of the amazing perks when you think of Starbucks is we actually pay for your first BA through Arizona State University with 120 different degrees that we offer currently. So you're able to get skills from that resource. And again, that's for part-time partners. So 20 hours a week, that's going to get you your BA paid for. So the skills that you'll get from that you're gaining, that once you're done, if your time is done with Starbucks, put a 2 weeks notice in and go off and work in education and take those communication skills and that leadership into whatever field you're going to go into.
Yeah, I would agree with the education piece. At Starbucks, I recently got my degree through ASU as well, and it's in educational studies, but you get other skills like cash handling skills, knowing how to count money, knowing how to handle money. I also think one of the skills that you learn is de-escalation. How do you take somebody that's upset and then de-escalate them and turn them into a positive experience? I think that's a really strong skill that you take away from working at Starbucks. And then I'd say finally, that leadership that Marisol talked about, that is something that when you know how you want to show up as your authentic self and how you're going to lead others, gives you value and it makes you feel like you can go anywhere and you can do anything you want with it.
Great points. Dennis, how about yourself? You obviously got into your position. It's not necessarily like an HR, what you were going for. You're obviously using other skills. So what are some of the things that you're going to learn here and then take away into possibly the next step?
So yeah, one thing that I've noticed that employers look for, depending on whatever industry you're going into, is solid proof of experience. You know, not just to talk about what it is that you learned, but to have a actual figure or representation of what it is that you've achieved. So, for instance, in our company, we certify our employees to for things like autism training, where you take a full-on course with us, and we teach you the many ins and outs and nuances of the spectrum of autism, and not only interacting with guests, but also fellow employees that may, have autism. So these are really, really solid things, like a certification from our company that can, last within our company and outside of our company as well. So certifications is one. And then another skill that my boss just mentioned to me was, just aside from the trainings itself, is, teamwork. Like kind of to piggyback on what we're all saying here is, you're going to learn how to work in a team. That's transferable to everywhere you go. Education, especially in research, is a group effort. So you're going to need to really understand how to take many people's points of view and kind of make it into one project, one focus, and understanding how to work through problems or differences in viewpoints. And these team efforts can really, really show you how to be empathetic, open-minded, and understanding. Again, very, very transferable skills to wherever it is that you're going.
Good stuff. All right, Greg, would you like to go to the next one, sir?
So you can all see the future. If you had to make an educated guess, what new skill will be needed in your industry in the future? So where do you see retail or hospitality, or maybe where do you see the company going in the future here?
Oh,
don't all jump in on predicting the future here.
I don't know if I would say a new skill needed in our industry, but I think it's really getting back to how we communicate. When we really think of how much communication has changed over the last, we're going to age ourselves a little bit, last 10, 20 years. Definitely as communication adjusts, it's going to be more of how do we make sure that we keep up with as fast as things are changing.
I also think something that we are really shifting for in our industry is being curious and asking questions. The people that are closest to the work normally have the problem or the solutions for the problems. And so how do we ask better questions that are more open-ended, because there's no wrong answer, and then we can actually problem solve it together versus just doing everything by Starbucks standard. Or let's think bigger. And I think that if we're looking towards the future, it's asking more open questions.
Awesome. Dennis.
Let's see, an educated guess. That's pretty scary. Outside of just El Capitan and Hyatt, I think that it would be good to keep in mind just the overall trend of the industries that you're looking into. So for instance, in hospitality, for instance, think about what skills are going to be necessary as far as just personal skills or educational skills. So a lot of the conjecture out there right now is that AI or artificial intelligence is kind of removing the job market from actual human employees. So a lot of the employee type things like a cashier or anything like that can be taken over by a computer. Companies are outsourcing to that. So maybe it might be beneficial to pursue education and something related to that, so that way you can be prepared for this shift. That's not really in essence to like an entry level position, but that's kind of thinking more long term, like, okay, how can I make myself more marketable and relevant in accordance with the context of the culture of the industry you're looking into at this time, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. One thing that I wish I had done when I was a little bit younger was enjoying being young, but also kind of planning ahead. So think 5 years ahead, think 10 years ahead, because when it's time to make those decisions, you wish you had kind of planned as best as you could before that. So I think that the new skill, aside from what I mentioned in education, would be planning ahead. Really try to plan ahead and really think it out what it is that you're going to be going into, or what the company it is that you're looking into is doing.
It's funny you
Great
mentioned
answer.
hindsight 2020, right? We see it a little bit later in life, our years, and then we're like, man, I wish I would have done this. And that's what we're trying to come from our perspective, is really helping our high school students or younger generation or people that are listening in, like what kind of things will help? How do we become a little bit more strategic and not just let things kind of fall in our lap, right? We have to plan things out, kind of forecasts. I know Greg and I do some workshops where we always talk about kind of knowing your industry, but knowing what direction your industry is going. What are the tools or the skills that are going to be needed? I think in our food services and hospitality, among others, retail, you're always going to have to be that customer service focus. So having interpersonal skills are always they're not going to be replaced. And AI can only do so much, things that are programmed to do. But problem solving, being creative, being empathetic, caring about others, listening, those are the type of skills that I'm hoping never get replaced. And as that individuals, the more we work and interact with one another, those skills are actually the things that employers are definitely looking for, especially in this particular industry. So it's cool to hear the looking forward and anticipating, because I think that's what makes people successful, is really doing this planning part of things.
It's really the point of today's Career Industry Days, career exploration for our students. Luis and I both have kids that are in high school or in college, and we're having those discussions. I feel like we were having those discussions this week, like, what are we doing in the future and how are we getting there? And so, questions from the audience time. Do we have any good questions? I know sounds like we had some issues with the chat and everything.
I did. So I disabled the chat.
Okay.
So if we have anybody who would like to ask a question, or if we have some instructors in the audience that would like to ask kind of a legitimate question, or one that we have not kind of touched upon in the 7 questions that we have, if anybody is interested, you have 2 employers that can definitely, hopefully, guide and answer the question that you're looking for.
I have a question. I'm Mr. Workington, Pacheco High School. I have a question for Dennis Perez. I want to know if most of the employees that you've hired have been local or if a significant amount commute from maybe a metro area like Fresno.
Good question.
Actually, a great question. So one of the beauties of El Capitan and Mainzer, our other building or property, is that one of the main focuses that we had were to completely stay local. We've hired many employees, and I would say if I broke it down into percentage scale, I want to say about 90% of our employees are local, and then the rest would be just transfers from other Hyatts. But again, we have a really big initiative on hiring local employees, local talent, and focusing here on our talent here in the Valley, or mainly Merced. So,
thank you.
Are you all hiring now? And if so, do you want to say kind of how many you need or what you're looking for?
yes, we are definitely hiring. We are hiring from a range of jobs. So if you're looking for something like a bartender or a barista in our new Mainzer building where we show movies and we kind of have like a new trendy scene to eat and enjoy drinks and things like that. So if that's something you're looking for, or if you're looking for hospitality as a room attendant or just a guest experience personnel to just deal with guests as they walk in the front counter, or you want to get into the culinary industry, these are great positions to start at here at Hyatt. And I will post the link in the chat so you guys can go ahead and check out the positions and apply if you'd like.
Perfect.
Yeah, here at Starbucks Same, we're definitely hiring. So we're hiring multiple different positions. We're looking for baristas, and we're actually looking for positions throughout the Valley right now. So Merced, Antwater, Coachella, Los Manos. We're also looking for shift supervisors, so people who have experience, or if you come in as a barista and don't, we have career progression. So that helps you as you work on your career. What does that look like? And again, we have Arizona State University. So while you're going to school to get that degree that we pay for, you can transfer, get your degree, either move up through the company in the different channels that we have, or take that and go on your journey elsewhere and hopefully have a great experience from working with us.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest thing you can do that's going to help you is not just apply online to go to the website, but also come in and put the face to the name. So whatever store you live closest to, go introduce yourself. Best days normally on a Monday. Store managers are normally there from around 7 to 3. But coming in and introducing yourself and just really allowing us to put the face with the name makes a big difference. But I also want to shout out, we have premium Spotify for partners. And that's like for every single partner that works in our store. And that's like the number one thing that partners are excited about.
Yeah, I would say definitely the Spotify premium. And then that doesn't count free drink 30 minutes before your shift, your full shift after your shift, 50% discounts. We have 30% at H&M, Adidas. We have a really amazing total pay package that is really one of those things we don't like to necessarily brag about, but when you come in, it's one of the great things. So on top of college, medical, vision, dental benefits, Spotify Premium still is everyone's favorite. So definitely come in, apply, and to Garrett's point, put a face with the name. Come say hi. Managers work Mondays. That's payroll day. So come in and show your face after school.
I know, Dennis, you have room. You got free discounted hotel rooms, right?
Yeah, and really quick, sorry, I seen that I saw that the chat was disabled, so I couldn't post a link, but if you would like to look at our careers, you can go to careers.hyatt.com. And then always, as my friends at Starbucks say, please come in, put a name to, or a face to the name. And one last tidbit aside from that is, don't be afraid to come and talk to people and really present who you are and just kind of establish a basic relationship. There is no such thing as failure when trying to, apply for a job. Everything's an experience and a learning experience. So if you may not have got a job in the past, you know what to change or do now. And always ask for feedback. So, if you're coming and you get an interview or your resume or your application was passed up for whatever reason, reach out to the employer, text them, email them, or come to them in person and be like, well, what can I do different? What was my application missing? How can I improve myself to be a more competitive candidate? Those things are all things that are going to help you get the job next time. So, never be discouraged, keep trying. If you're a brand new high school student or a college student, you're very young. You have many experiences ahead of you, so just take them all as they come.
Luis, did you pay him for that segue to the next question?
Actually, I was gonna, no, I did not, but I was gonna, real quick, Greg, I had a direct message from a Gabriel. So one of the things apparently I didn't realize when we disabled some of the chat features, they can still direct message us individually. So I did get one from a Gabriel Espinola who has a question for Marisol and Garrett. So if I can ask that one really quick. So if you have observed the behavior between your employees, how well would you say each relationship is between, your employees? And do they meet the expectations you would like them to meet?
Luis, can you say that one more time for us, please? We didn't quite get that.
Yeah, sure. So his question, I think it has to do more with like team chemistry, but it says, if you have observed the behavior between your employees, how well would you say each relationship between each employee is? Do they meet the expectations you would like them to meet?
So one of the things that we talk about at Starbucks is really creating the Starbucks experience for every partner, every customer. And so when I think of my store and I think the relationships in that team, I've been at that location for 1 year and it's pretty amazing. We have open, honest conversations with each other. We give feedback in all directions. So we call it coaching. So a barista can coach a supervisor barista. I get coached as manager. That's just one of those things when we talk about creating like a really amazing safe space for us to be able to coach each other, praise each other. We're a team. So in our team, that dynamic is really important. And as part of it is how we show up.
I think really goes to our mission and values. So one of our values is creating a culture where of warmth and belonging, where everyone feels welcomed. And so, yeah, there's times where people don't live within that value, but if they make that decision, then we coach them. And if they don't change that behavior, then they don't get to work here. So the relationships that they build, there are some that are closer than others, but everybody feels like they're part of a family. So I guess that hopefully that answered the question of like, does it always happen? Yeah, it should be always happening within the store because that's one of our core values.
Awesome. No, perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, sorry, Greg, go for it.
I have to do one final plug. Yeah. Well, or Dennis, so I want to wrap this up because I want to value your time, and it is the time we said. Marisol, Garrett, do you have any final advice to participants today? Dennis had some great advice. He segued into this question so nicely. Do you guys have any last final advice for our students?
I would say final advice to the participants today is you have a long journey ahead of you. And definitely branch out, research where you want to go, and know that you might change your career a couple times in your life, and that's okay. Just be open to what that experience looks like. And definitely your first experience at a job, you're going to get a lot of learning, and know that you'll have a lot of transition. That's okay. So I would say for advice, lean in with a growth mindset and just be okay with things will change.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like, be okay with failing, because failing is only learning in disguise, because you might not fit with a company, but that's okay. You'll find the place that you fit in. So
some advice from all of you. So I want to say, if you're here today, make sure you check out the Career Industry Day, the book, the interactive catalog. We have over 90 videos for on trades. I know the El Cap Hotel is showcased in there as well. We have a whole book on training programs and post-secondary. And then we've got the 4 or 5 other books. And the main one's career exploration, but then we have different industry sectors broken out into their 4 books. Tons of good advice. The videos are all going to be there. You can access them tomorrow, this weekend, your time. All the videos are about 10 minutes long. And with that, Luis, you want to do thank yous? You're so much more eloquent than me.
No, I appreciate all your time, and kind of like Greg mentioned, this was our first one of the day. We'll probably figure out some kinks in between. We'll probably be pro by the 3rd or 4th one, but we do want to appreciate your time and all the information that you provided us. I think it's all 100% spot on. I almost wish I had a time machine, go back 20 years and maybe get some of this, but I'm hoping we have our students, our instructors, we're able to get some tidbits and information that will kind of help guide them in their future careers. So thank you, Dennis from El Capitan Hotel, Marisol and Garrett from our Starbucks. Great companies to look into, great companies, great people to be working with. So just want to appreciate and thank you for your time.
Absolutely. These are recorded. We'll get the Zoom links out there. So teachers, if you want to show this to class later and